They say if you listen closely at night, you can hear the whispers of history. But what if those whispers turn into screams? Welcome back, I'm here. And on November 19th, 2002, everything changed. A local man named Paul Cruz woke up in his home in Alton to the sight of a severed human head on his lawn. It all started with the slaying of the DeFeo family in 1975. On November 13, Ronald DeFeo was shot dead inside his family's home. Two young boys, Sean Berry and Timothy Curley, had vanished without a trace. Visitors started coming, not just to pay respects, but also to try and understand the darkness that had fallen over the town. John Bell, a farmer and former soldier, moved his family into a remote farmhouse. In the early 1900s, it was a bustling border town between the United States and Canada. But it was also hiding a dark secret. The year was 1911, when Frances Crowley was found brutally murdered in her home. The news spread like wildfire. The community was shaken by the savagery of the crime. But as quickly as it started, the investigation ended. No one was arrested, no one was charged, and the case went cold. The mystery deepened. Rumors swirled, pointing fingers at various individuals, but nothing concrete ever surfaced. Then came the second tragedy. 9 years later, in 1920, Helen Viola met a similar fate. She was found lifeless in her home, the victim of a brutal assault. Fear gripped Ogdensburg. Residents lived in constant dread, wondering if they'd ever find the killer. But as the years passed, the search for justice waned. Whispers of a curse echoed through the town. Was Ogdensburg haunted by a relentless killer? Or were these crimes merely the work of a deranged mind? Even today, the unsolved cases remain a haunting part of the town's history, serving as a chilling reminder of the evils that can dwell within their midst. They were looking for a fresh start, but they didn't know they were about to enter a nightmare. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, because we've got more creepy content coming your way. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Soon after they settled in, strange things started happening. There were whispers in the night, objects moving by themselves, even ghostly apparitions. It was like something out of a horror movie. But it got worse. The spirits seemed to target one person in particular, John Bell's daughter Betsy. One moment she'd be laughing, the next she'd be in pain, writhing around as if possessed. As time passed, the haunting grew more intense. People started hearing chains dragging, doors slamming, and even gunshots echoing across the farm. Fear hung heavy in the air. The Bell family was trapped in their own personal hell, with no escape in sight. As the story unfolded, it captured the attention of the whole country. Newspapers ran tales of the mysterious events, fueling public fascination and speculation. Some said it was all an elaborate hoax, while others believed Betsy was genuinely possessed. But the mystery didn't end with Betsy. Years later, John Bell himself met a gruesome fate. He was found dead in his field, having choked on his own vomit during a violent fit. And people whispered that the Bell Witch, angry over his failure to protect his daughter, had struck again. The legacy of terror continues to live on. People still visit the Bell Witch Cave, eager to experience the eerie atmosphere that has remained undisturbed for centuries. Memorials to the lost children became landmarks, each bearing silent witness to a nightmare they refused to end. And that's the thing about small-town horror stories. They're not just tales of terror. They are stories of loss, of fear, and of resilience. Each one is a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk even in the most tranquil corners of our world. Their disappearance sent shockwaves through the close-knit community, dividing residents into two camps. Some believed the boys had run away, while others suspected foul play. The investigation uncovered disturbing details. Both families had faced threats, and there was evidence of a struggle in Sean's home. Yet despite the mounting suspicion, no arrests were made, deepening the town's unease. Then came the second tragedy. Another child went missing in 1996. This time, it was 7-year-old Christopher Thomas. The despair in Marshall ran deep. 3 innocent lives lost, a community torn apart by fear and unanswered questions. In the face of such sorrow, the town sought answers. Theories abounded. Some pointed fingers at drifters, others at local predators. But concrete evidence remained elusive. And as the years rolled by, the cold cases grew colder still, leaving scars on the town's psyche that refused to fade. His parents, along with 2 of his siblings, were also found brutally murdered. The chilling part, it was the work of his younger brother, David. But why? David claimed he acted alone, driven by voices that commanded him to commit the murders. But the truth may be more complex. For years, Amityville has been associated with paranormal activity. Many believe that the house on Ocean Avenue is cursed. After the massacre, anyone who lived there suffered tragedy, including the very detectives investigating the case. And it didn't stop there. Some say the presence in the house drove people insane. As the stories grew, so did the morbid tourism. People flocked to Amityville to catch a glimpse of the infamous house, hoping to witness paranormal activity for themselves. Books, movies, and documentaries kept the legend alive. But behind the shadows of the supposed curse, the real horror might lie in the darkness that followed the DeFeo family long after the night of the killings. The police had received reports of a missing woman, 39-year-old Laura Ackerson. She had been reported missing by her family. They hadn't heard from her for days, which wasn't like her. When they went to her home, they found signs of a struggle and blood. But there was no sign of Laura anywhere. So they contacted the authorities, who began an investigation. But it soon hit a wall. There were no leads, and the case went cold. Then that fateful day arrived, when Paul discovered the severed head. It set off a flurry of activity. The police, along with the FBI, joined forces to solve the mystery. They followed countless leads, but each one seemed to end in a dead end. Months turned into years, yet the case remained unsolved, leaving the residents of Alton to wonder if they'd ever find justice for Laura. And today we are taking a look at true small-town horror stories. No one warned us about that place. Alton became known as the Headless Woman Town, drawing curious visitors who wanted to see the place where such a grim discovery had been made. Businesses capitalized on the notoriety, selling merchandise related to the gruesome event. It almost felt like Alton was trying to outrun its dark past. Then in 2010, a break in the case offered a glimmer of hope. A prisoner serving time for another crime confessed to killing Laura, providing details about where he'd hidden her remains. This led to the exhumation of several bodies in an area known as the Sand Hill. But sadly, none of them were Laura's. To this day, the mystery of Laura Ackerson's disappearance and murder remains unsolved, leaving a chilling void in the history of Alton. From haunted houses to cursed roads, these tales will leave you questioning the quietest of towns. First up, let's head over to Alton, Illinois. It was a sleepy town of 6,000 or so residents. But our story doesn't end there. Now let's move on to Amityville, New York, a seemingly quiet community that became synonymous with horror. Next, let's visit Marshall, Texas. The year was 1984. Marshall was a town grappling with the aftermath of a horrific crime. But our journey doesn't end there. Marshall, Texas, became a symbol of childhood lost to violence and fear. Moving on, let's talk about Bell Witch Cave in Tennessee. The story goes back to the early 1800s. Now, let's take a trip to Ogdensburg, New York. All right, now it's your turn. What do you think of these stories? Have you ever experienced anything similar in your life? Share your thoughts below.